Actually inside the church as kids. So when I was inside, I heard rocks being thrown at the church, you know. So we didn't know it was rocks. It was just like ta 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 ta. And then when we went to look, there was a bunch of people charging towards the church.
Fresh tears are rolling down the faces of very many Kenyans because during Gachagwa's tour in America, a man reminded us on how Kasongo killed people in Kiamba Church. He narrated a sad story where RUTO killed very many people. Okay? And I'm starting to say that we wish we listened to Uhuru Kenyatta. Although even Raila Amolo Odinga, the choice, since Raila Amolo Odinga is also joining RUTO, I think even Raila would have been even worse. Okay? So it is incumbent upon Kenyans to start rectifying this mistake because these people are determined. I know they are scared of Gachagua and the statements of the cousins, but it is time to rectify this mistake. A man in the United States of America came out to narrate the ordeal that happened in the church where he got burnt. He said this with scars, historical scars. We remember in 2007, people died and the eco-straters are known. Before I proceed, let me first play with the tape as this man was narrating. Here's the tape.
Of January 2008, we were playing games, Banta. You come to Banta as kids, just having fun. And then we actually inside the church as kids. So when I was inside, I heard rocks being thrown at the church, you know. So we didn't know it was rocks. It was just like ta 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 ta. And then when we went to look, there was a bunch of people charging towards the church with like face paintings, machetes. I'm a kid. I'm scared. Went back inside the church. But so did everybody else. You know, the women, mostly women, came inside the church. Everybody else, all the young people, we went inside the church. And as soon as we got inside the church, you know, everybody was screaming and everything. They locked the church. And mind you, the church was made out of wood. And then it has like Mabati, KAG, Kenyan Assembly of God. So when we were inside the church, they locked the church to where you couldn't get out, right? And then they took the bikes that people came with and they locked the main doors so you couldn't push it out. Then people had brought mattresses because some people slept at the church. Once they did this, they lit the church on fire with kerosene while we were inside the church. Now, again, I'm young. I keep emphasizing on this because the older people, everybody's now scrambling to get outside the church or screaming. The women are screaming. Everybody's trying to get outside. People are stepping on me as they're trying to get out because now it's like everybody for their life. The reason I got burnt on my hands is because at some point in the church, I was one of the last people to get outside the church. The church is falling. You know, it's made out of wood, so it's burning really quick. I'm protecting myself, kujikinga. You know, even covering my face, so nothing, so I can kind of see where I'm going. That's how my hands ended up getting burnt. And most of my burns was because things were falling. And at one point I was down on the floor, you know, but by the grace of God, I was able to survive. I was able to get outside the church. As soon as I got outside the church, you could see people on the ground, dead bodies. People who had been chopped up by machetes. Some people had been covered by a blanket. And then I got outside the church, and now I'm trying to go back to my grandma's because I don't know where else to go. And mind you, everybody else has already kind of left. Like I'm fast forwarding. So as I'm walking out, and then I'm trying to go back to my grandma's house, there's a few people that I met with. And they told me, Nenda wapi? And I was like, I'm going to my grandma's house. And they told me, kama nataka kuishi, nifuate kila mtu, kama nataka kufa niende hivyo venye naenda. So, and then they pointed to like where everybody was at, and I could see people walking that had left the church. This time I do not know that I'm burnt. I have no idea, don't have pain because of the adrenaline.
That is what happened in Kiamba. And he said that RUTO is the one who burned these people. RUTO has a bad history. But since 2002 was so emotional, by the way, even when we went in 2022, I would still vote for RUTO because of what he stood for. Uhuru Kenyatta, the president and the opposition, had ganged on him. The opposition was in government by that time. So he stood against these issues. He stood by the constitution. Right now he's doing the same things he stood against. He used to lecture Raila Odinga that the opposition is in government. Now he has put it in government. He stood against judicial killings. He's doing the same. So such history tells us sometimes you must see history before you vote in some people. 2022 was so emotional. Okay? The system, the kingpins were ganging up against Kenyans, and that's why he voted for RUTO. But RUTO has continued to show us that he was the bad choice. And 2027, we have a duty of pushing Kasongo out of power. If Kasongo gets the second term, even by face value, guy has stolen money. He wanted to even sell the power of Kenya and the airline of Kenya so that he can get maybe a piece of cake. William Ruto wants to be richer than the past president. He wants to steal to be richer than Moi, Uhuru, Jomo, and others. That's what he wants to do. That's why he must be fought. To show that these people stood for constitutionalism. Now they are backtracking. The Minister of Interior, Murkomen, is threatening chiefs. If indeed he was in the opposition, he wouldn't have said that. Now, since he's in government and power is entering their head, is threatening chiefs that they should not engage in politics. By the way, let me be fair to Murkomen. Any government worker should not engage in politics, be it supporting government in a partisan way. They should only support government programs, not a candidate. There's a difference between a state and a political party. Okay? And a government. Government can go, state remains. A government chief must be a work of the state, not for a government. So I've seen chiefs supporting RUTO, and Murkomen has been mum. So if they can support RUTO, that means they can even support the opposition, stop threatening them. In fact, Murkomen was saying this. Here's the tape.
Hakuna chief or assistant chief or a police officer atapatikana akiongea mambo against the government of the day. Hakuna. It is illegal, it's unconstitutional. Tukipata police officer anasema anatusi rais, anaimba slogans ya siasa, ati police officer bado anataka kuserve the government of the day and the country of the day, na anaongea huko ati ako na political right, anaita President Kasongo ama anaimba vitu ya one term, that police officer or a public servant should be fired immediately. And I'm not saying because of this government, even the previous government and the government to come. Hii government ikiondoka na ingine ikuje, lazima kama wewe ulichoose to serve in public service, you must respect the government that will come. Utapika kura penye utapigia na hakuna hata mtu atakuuliza, but you cannot participate in campaigns and you cannot participate in sloganeering. Yours is to understand government of the day, policy of the day, and implementation of that policy. That is why nikiwa hapa najivunia.
So that is Murkomen. Murkomen devised a language of threatening. Every issue that comes out and Murkomen speaks has a language of threatening. But remember, Kenyans don't feel those threats. We must tell you to your face, boy Murkomen. A state officer should not campaign for government, for a presidential candidate, or for opposition. That must be the standard. But we've seen chiefs saying two-term bill a break. That breaks the law. Even those must be chased. They must be sent home. But throwing laws and rules which only favor those of which only favor Kasongo have no room in our Kenya. Murkomen, we should tell you to your face that stop threatening us. We are not your kids. Stop threatening the youths, threatening everyone that you are arresting. By the way, I adore Murkomen, the then Murkomen, the one who stood in Senate. I remember they were passing a law and he came out to say don't sacrifice Kenya. The emotional Murkomen who stood for the rule of law and the Bill of Rights. Now is the same person who came out to say that shoot to the legs, shoot to kill, arrest Gachagua, arrest what? Power is getting into Murkomen's head, and we must tell you, because you are nothing, you are dog, Murkomen. You are dog, you are pig. Start going back to the videos that you used to say in Senate. maybe they can reflect on who you are. Power is entering your head, Kasongo. One time is inevitable. Kasongo must go home. Stop threatening Kenyans. Of course, that's my opinion. Do make your comments by commenting about this. Thank you very much for listening in. If this is your first time on this YouTube channel, I implore you to subscribe, like, and comment so they can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.
Remove